Hello and welcome to Planet NOLA. I'm your host, Mary Jacobs. This is the podcast where we talk to people in New Orleans that are cool, doing cool things, just some folks around the city that I'd love to shine some more light on. Today, we have my old pal, Kendra Unique, with us. Kendra is a dancer, an actress, general badass around the city. Also, I was Kendra's first roommate in New Orleans, which is how we know each other. I was like subleasing a room in a house that I was about to leave. It was a short amount of time, like 6 months, 3 to 6 months or something like that. And that's how we met. And I've known her ever since, and I've got to watch her little career grow in this city and see her get like asked to play parts now, like go from just like coming from, you're from the Virginia area, right?
Virginia, yep. Mm-hmm.
And you just moved here right after college?
Right after 2015.
Yeah, you're brave.
Yeah, like 2 weeks pretty much.
Did you just close your eyes and like point somewhere? Like,
kind of. I had a friend who lived here and he was like, "Oh, it's pretty cool." And I was like, "Okay, let me do some research." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And so I moved down here. I really didn't think too deeply about it, honestly.
Had you ever visited?
No, I never visited. The first time I came was when my parents drove me down to move in with you.
That is crazy. Like, that is wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even check the place out. You're like, guess I'm living in New Orleans now.
Yeah. I did my research. I was like, let me make sure it has some things I like. Like I found my dance studio and I applied for some jobs and, was building some connections already. But no, I hadn't visited and I hadn't really, met anyone.
What was the thing you had to adjust to first besides like leaving everybody you knew?
I guess just finding more patience on the road. The driving was the first thing I had to adjust to because I grew up driving in the DC area where it's like honk honk vroom vroom. Mm-hmm. We're going fast, we're switching lanes, and people definitely have more of a relaxed view of how they want to move along the streets.
Yeah, people ain't got nowhere to be in this city. People, yes. It's either they drive so slowly and horribly or they drive so recklessly. Like, especially lately, it's been like hell on earth driving. I don't go on green anymore.
Yeah.
I wait.
You absolutely have to wait.
I wait.
Yeah.
I wait.
Also, the lights here, they switch immediately, whereas in some places
there's a delay.
So you have that little extra time, but that was one of the first things I was like, oh my gosh.
But I'm not talking about little extra time. I'm talking about people coming from a block away planning on running the light.
Yeah.
I'll check and I'll like look and I'll wait and then I'll like lean a little further and then I'll go. You know what I mean? Like, it's sketchy right now.
It's sketchy. Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend it.
I don't either. So, yeah.
Well, Kendra is a triple threat. Which means, if you don't know in the performance world, it means
you're a busybody.
She can chew gum and tie her shoes. No, she's a singer, a singer, an actor, and a dancer. A dactor is a dancer and actor. That's a double threat.
I'm a singer and a dactor.
You're a singer and a dactor. When you decided to come to New Orleans, were you like, I'm going to do performing arts there?
Yeah, that was kind of my whole intention. I was like, this seems like a cool place. The Hollywood South vibe was still happening when I first moved down. So that was definitely my initial goal, was like weasel my way into the film industry. Mm-hmm. And, I did a couple things, got a few little background gigs and some independent films, which has been great. But yeah, I've always been interested in the performance moving down here.
And so how'd you get into it? Like, how'd you break in? I feel like this is just a thing that I'm casting judgment and guessing on, but I feel like it's hard to initially break in. If you come to the city and you don't know anybody that's already in the performing arts, like, it can be pretty hard to, like, find that little in, I know, like, we're kind of talking about, you're like, I just auditioned. Yeah. Did you really just have luck, like, auditioning and...
I really did just audition. Damn. And it wasn't that I, booked every single audition that I got. I certainly did not. No. But I did, make a lot of my good friends at auditions. Like, my best friend, Linnea, we met at an audition, I think that I did, like, 5 months after I moved down. And, even today, we're still besties. And, just putting myself in environments and ending up different places, at these auditions got me used to like, okay, there's a studio here, there's a studio
and you're like
here,
meeting
there's
people
this
every time
here.
you audition and get a rejection.
Yeah.
You still met like all the people you auditioned for,
Exactly. And,
or
like,
whatever. Like, I think that
yeah.
makes a big difference.
It does, yeah. So that's kind of how I got the lay of the land. And then I kind of found like dancing grounds through this like process, and I was like, okay, I can like hang out here, volunteer here, take class here.
So who all have you danced with?
I've danced with Melange Dance Company. That's my most recent company. Shift Collective, Narcisse Movement Project a few years ago. I backup danced for a singer, Ari, at Essence Fest once.
The dance world is one world. I mean, I'll come to your shows because I know they happen because I'm not in the dance world, right? So I don't know what it looks like in the city other than the stuff you do because I don't consume it. What does it look like? What's the dancing landscape like in New Orleans?
Wow. What an interesting question.
It's a hard question, isn't it?
That is such a hard question, yeah. We have a lot of amazing dance talent in New Orleans. So Melange Dance Company is a contemporary dance company whose mission is really to inspire change through dance. So a lot of our content, our most recent show was called Rise from Mother Earth. So that was a show about climate change. And we brought in a lot of stories, specifically Louisiana stories, about like the rising sea levels and, Cancer Alley and St. James Parish.
That's where my mom is from.
You from St. James? Oh, yeah. We did a whole dance all about St. James
really?
And their experience with like the petrochemical industry. So that company does a lot of, activism through dance work. And we have a lot of dancers who, just like in the theater world, you have to always dance with multiple companies. So just to kind of name some like companies that we kind of share dances with would be like Marigny Opera Ballet.
Wait, Elevate. I'm confused what that means. You share dances with people?
Dancers.
Oh, dancers.
Yes. The dancers,
I was picturing like courting. One person put their hand out at the Marigny Opera House, and then Melange puts their hand out, and then you guys dance together like it's like a combined dance.
That would be cute. It
would be real cute.
We should collab.
Yeah, you guys get jerseys like sports teams.
That would be so cute. Oh my gosh. I love jerseys. I used to be a field hockey star. Anyways. Back to dance.
They make you feel cool. That's like when the kids get Lettermans in high school and you're just like, oh, okay, we get it. Like, you're cool.
Team, like, you're in that crowd.
I feel like the dance community is pretty young here. I could be wrong, but
I don't know. I mean, I think some would say that it's young because I think that it's definitely growing in the last few years because people are really trying to put efforts into connecting the different styles of dance, like because there kind of is like a ballet world and like a contemporary modern world, and then you're like musical theater, jazz, tap world,
right?
That kind of exist. So it is growing, and there is some more interconnectivity there. But we do have a lot of, great dance elders in town who have been, doing that work for so long. We do have a lot of companies that, come in and out a lot. Like
interesting.
Urban Bush women do a lot of work here.
Do dance companies they tour? Is that what?
Dance companies tour. Yeah.
God, I'm learning so much.
Tour. Yeah. It's very similar to being in a theater company. But I think
what's the
dancers, difference? We don't rehearse as often because we're just sweating more, I think.
Well, I feel like the rehearsal process for dancing, is a little bit more labor intensive than theater.
Yes,
depending on the show.
That way. Yeah. And I think the pay is not as great comparatively. As someone who has done a lot of theater work and dance work, dance leadership definitely strives to pay as much as they're able to, but the funding is more, leaning towards theater, for the higher.
Which is just so
jobs.
Wild because every friggin' little girl I know is in dance. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, the dance industry is huge. Like,
it's huge.
We stay putting little girls in dance and little boys, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, is this the industry that's underfunded in the arts because it's mostly women?
Hey, can we talk about it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a guess. I don't know.
I mean, I definitely think
it feels like it's not taken seriously.
Yeah, it definitely is not taken seriously. And I think I teach dance to like little 5-year-olds now.
Oh, yeah, you teach. Well, you've taught my niece.
I used to teach your niece, yes, and it was just so much fun. But I feel like people sometimes see dance as like a gateway to other activities, and people kind of just drop their kids off and they're like do whatever. Like they're not necessarily there thinking like about the dance. They're like, well, we have to put our daughter in ballet just because all little girls do ballet, and it's like a good way to develop their coordination and stuff like that. But even growing up, it was like we're just in dance because our parents kind of put us here.
Yes, but isn't that true about like t-ball? Isn't that true about t-ball and all kinds of other little sports that them players make mad money?
Yeah. Famous baseball players now, though, they make a lot more money than a famous dancer.
I am just curious of your own perspectives being a member of dance companies, being a dancer, like what your experience is like. Because here's the thing, I could get somebody from the Maroney Opera House leadership to sit here and tell me about how wonderful it is and how it's going and all these great things. But it's like, I want to know what the experience is like for the people that are making the art more than anything else, because the people that are making the art are the ones that are making the art. Yeah, they're the ones making the art. And, I love organizations and their leaderships, but at the same time I'm curious about the experience of the people and why they care, why you show up, why you love it, what it feels like for you to be in it. So yeah, no pressure. And I don't think anyone listening is like, this person has to speak for all of dancers in New Orleans. You're not doing that. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Okay, it's not that. It's really not that. It's more I just want to know about your experience and what it's like for you and like why you do it and you've been drawn to over the years.
I do it because I love it. I go absolutely nuts if I don't dance for a long time. I'm like, I just get pent up. So I really just do it partially because it helps me just to survive. And I enjoy performing. I love drama. And just being dramatic, especially if I have an outlet to do that is also paying me. But yeah, I've loved being a dancer in New Orleans because there is a lot of accessible class opportunities, and there's a lot of
I feel like dancing grounds really changed things in this city.
They really were a good reason that I am involved in the dance.
Is it Laura? Is her name Laura?
Wait, Laura Stein.
Laura Stein, yeah. I'll have to have her on at some point. Yeah, they have some really cool stuff going on over there.
Yes, I work there now.
You do?
As an employee.
Oh, hell yeah. This is an official commercial for dancing grounds. Exactly. Well, my Pilates coach, Sierra Dietz, is also a dancer, and she dances at dancing grounds a lot. And I'm a dancer in the sense that I dance for the feeling of it, not for the audience purposes of it. But I'm so scared to go to a dance class. I'm so scared.
Oh my gosh. Just start at dancing grounds.
That's what Sierra keeps telling me. She's like, look, you can just go to the classes. There will be people there that don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, I know you say that, but I really don't know what I'm doing. And when I'm by myself and I'm jamming out to something and dancing, I think it looks great. But I don't know if I'm actually keeping any time. I don't think I have any I don't know if I understand how to make pictures or whatever. I don't know any of it. So I feel so silly, but she's always telling me, just go to dancing grounds.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the classes are so accessible. They have a lot of beginner-friendly classes, and some of them are follow-along sort of classes where you're not doing a whole lot of choreography.
That's what I need.
Some are, yeah.
That's what I need.
So I feel like Laura's Work It Out class.
That's the one that she said.
Then go, Mary.
I know.
It's time for you to go.
I know, but putting yourself out there is really hard. I think you have to be really smart to watch dance sometimes, because sometimes I'm there's some narrative stuff happening here and I'm not getting it because I'm not smart.
Oh my gosh.
I feel that way.
It should be that way. I wish it was not that way, because I want everyone to be able to watch and enjoy dance. I feel like you don't have to be smart.
Oh, I enjoy it.
Maybe I think it's maybe just some people aren't as in touch with their bodies, so viewing something where people are so deeply using their bodies to say something.
It's like a communication It's like a language. It's a language.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, here's the thing. No matter what, say I watch a show about climate change and the whole time all I'm thinking about is I don't know, voting rights. my interpretation of art is my interpretation of art. It is what it is. It is what it is. Like, you can't control it. At the end of the day, it can be a painting of a monkey getting its brain dissected, and somebody can be thinking about Guatemala. I don't know. It's people's interpretation of art is allowed to exist.
Yes, and I love it. I love it. People are so creative, and interpretations are even more creative.
Another really cool thing that you do is you volunteer, work with, give your time and energy to Southern Solidarity.
Yes. Woo woo.
Okay, so I know Southern Solidarity, but I feel like I should not explain what it is. So could you explain what it is?
Sure, I will explain what it is. We are a grassroots group of volunteers that serve unhoused folks in the downtown area of New Orleans as our capacity aligns. So in the past, we usually were doing like 7 days a week. Now we're down to about 2 or 3 days a week, but we go out and we distribute food, medicine, clothes, bedding. Sometimes we can offer outreach, helping folks get signed up for phones and IDs. So we just really provide as many services as we can, trying to connect folks with caseworkers for housing. And yeah, so we're just a group of volunteers. We are led by a wonderful group of Black, Indigenous, POC organizers who are supported by our white comrades to distribute as much mutual aid as we possibly can throughout the New Orleans area.
So y'all go down, you bring aid, like physical aid.
Yes.
Like some people are, throwing money at you guys, but you guys are actually going out there, or y'all are going out there and distributing the goods.
We load up the truck with food and water, whatever supplies we're able to bring. We try to always have like a first aid kit in case anyone needs something specific.
How big is the org?
It depends. I think at its max, we probably had about like 60 or so regular volunteers. But people come and go, but it's, a decent size. We're less active now because since COVID, folks have had to go back to work and like have kind of unfortunately had to reprioritize towards each of our own capitalist endeavors, including me.
Yeah.
But we still try to get out there as much as we can and, stay connected with our people that we serve. So,
Do y'all have folks that are in the unhoused community that are like have become kind of a part of y'all's community? Like, does anyone like work with y'all when y'all go down there, or they're regulars? I don't know how it works.
Yeah, we do have a few folks that we see pretty regularly, and we have had some unhoused folks volunteer with us to go distribute food. And we try to, as much as we can, have them lead us and have them tell us what services and what things that they would like, and, kind of have them guide us as to how we can be most useful to them.
That feels really different than other organizations centered on the houseless population. Because it does feel a little bit like we're on the outside, kind of. This is just my general read of how people perceive houseless populations. It's like, well, if you did this, if you got a job, if you were not drinking, and it's like all of us outside that are more successful at capitalism, like point in and say, this is what you need. So the fact that you guys are like, what do y'all need? And like actually listening to that doesn't feel like people do that enough.
Yeah, people really don't. And I think that it can end up, causing more harm and putting more pressure on people, who may not be able to do those things that we can do, because there's a large neurodivergent population, a lot of disabled people who can't just walk up somewhere and, just apply for a job. Or maybe they've been on, the streets for a long time and don't have, a new shirt to wear.
Yeah, there's just like so many barriers that nobody thinks of.
Yeah, there's a lot of barriers. And we try to really just be like, what do you need? And if someone is like, I need a shirt and new shoes so that I can go to this job, we're like, okay, we can do our best to try to get this to you, when we have the capacity. So it's best to be guided by the people that you're serving, just across the board,
Yeah.
And it makes for just a healthier organization, and we're able to be more joyful with the people that we serve because they know that they can trust us, with the things that they have to say and, their experience. And yeah.
Is the best way for people to support Southern Solidarity, is it to volunteer, give money, or give resources?
Yeah.
Is it all of them?
All three
Is
are
there a
great.
best?
Yeah. I feel like the best is whatever you are able to do consistently.
Hell yeah.
Don't overreach and burn yourself out too quickly, but just whatever you're able to do, make sure that it's consistent. So if you can give, $10 a month, or if you can come by and make sandwiches, if you can whip out 50 sandwiches in a couple hours, and then go home. There's so many different ways to be involved. So the best is whatever you can do consistently.
What do you typically do?
For me right now, I am picking up our food from Turkey and the Wolf. They are a restaurant that partners with us where folks can add on a little extra to their bill, and they make up big trays of food for us to pick up every week. I also manage the finances, so I work
so
with our
cool.
sponsor.
I feel like nobody does that. What the hell? They're like, we're going to donate a portion of these proceeds to da-da-da, to da-da-da. This is like, nah, you give us a little extra money and it goes directly to this food that we make every week.
It's great. Yeah, so that's my, little task. I just drive over there, listen to my audiobook, and pick up the food, and I drop it off at our HQ at First Unitarian Universalist Church.
On Claiborne?
On Claiborne. Yep, that's where we distribute out of. And, and I do the finances, so I, kind of track our budget and make sure we have receipts and everything, and are working with our fiscal sponsors.
Kendra, we have to take a break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Hello, it's your host, Mary Jacobs. I'm sitting here with my producer, Carrie Mulder, and we are so excited to be bringing you Planet NOLA this episode and every episode. We really believe in this podcast and the work it's doing in New Orleans to build community, to reach out to people, and we really love what we do.
Yeah, we love our guests. We love our audience, our listeners. We love each other. It's just a big love fest.
So if you love this podcast and you believe in what we're doing, it would mean the world to us if you considered subscribing to our Patreon. We've just launched it. The lowest tier is $5, and we are just really trying to get this podcast to pay for itself a little bit, maybe support ourselves just a little bit more. We're both creative people who have a lot of projects, and this is a big one in our lives. And there is bonus content.
Yeah, it's really fun. It takes a deep dive into the episode, kind of circle back to some of the topics. They've been fun.
Yeah,
Super
we basically record with the guests as soon as we're done their episode and do a more candid version of their podcast. It's shorter, but it's more self-effacing, and it feels like just real, you know?
It's BTS, behind the scenes.
It's the BTS. So if you want more Planet NOLA content, you could subscribe to our Patreon and get it. It would mean so much to us. So, okay, we'll let you go back to your episode now, but please consider.
Thank you.
Bye. This episode of Planet NOLA is brought to you by Vitality Community Fitness. Vitality is a functional training gym located in Metairie, Louisiana. And at Vitality, we focus on members as individuals. That's right. We don't lump people together. We don't assume that everybody has the same goals when they step into our gym. We also don't push things like body ideals or diet culture. We try to focus on the full person, and we try to give an experience that matches that. We've got incredible coaches. We've got an incredible community. And if you're looking for a place to call your new gym home, consider checking us out. We offer a 3 free class trial. That's right. Literally no commitment. You can try 3 of our classes in a week to see if our gym is for you, because ultimately we want people who want to be there. And if it sounds like this might be the space for you, please consider checking us out. You can go to vitalitycommunityfitness.com, click the contact button, and get started. Hello. We're back to Planet NOLA. It's me, Mary. I'm still here with my buddy Kendra. We've been talking about Southern Solidarity, the dance landscape of New Orleans in the world's funniest way. And we were talking about on the break how Kendra's like a very big gardener, but it also reminded us that your garden is, can you explain, is Southern Solidarity just like gardening in your garden?
Yes, we built like 4 raised beds in my backyard, with the Southern Solidarity gardening team. And it's been so much fun. We were a lot more active last year. This year's been a bit hot and dry, and a little bit busy to do as much activity, but it has been such a great learning experience and also a great teaching experience to like kind of have other people come to my house and like, okay, let's put all these tomatoes in together. Excuse me. Or like, let's get these tools and like build another raised bed and like get to shoveling. We grew a good amount of food.
And that's the
there.
food y'all use to make food or bring to the houseless populations?
Yes, we would try to incorporate it into our recipes for our, chef team. Mostly it was like tomatoes and tomatillos and herbs that we did really well at. And so it wasn't enough to obviously create whole meals for hundreds of people, but it did supplement, what we were bringing out to people. And, hopefully it can grow or it inspires other people to grow food. And, a lot of the garden team have gardens at their homes now. So,
That's really cool. That's like
great,
the dream.
Yeah.
You're a huge garden advocate. You're always like, grow your stuff.
Always.
Kendra also does this thing on Instagram that I always compliment her on. I bring it up every time I see her, where she walks around and just points out things in her garden, how they're growing, but she's doing it in this very sing-songy, sometimes actually singing voice, and it's very soothing. It's I don't do ASMR, but I do you going through your garden singing to your plants. I do that.
Yes. Maybe I should shoot some ASMRs of those, because it's just so fun, and it really is my pure energy just leaving my body when I see something. I love it.
You're at your best in your garden.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it just kind of makes me, tune into the little things and really just be okay, this is still growing. It's good. I can trust in, the things that I have done out there and the work that I put in, so that, there's life out there, and it feels good.
It feels like we're in the end times, when we're recording this, the Supreme Court just did their dirty on Roe v. Wade. So this is probably coming out way later, but it did just happen. And I feel now, I think this is what your stance is. Building a garden is a little way to be a disruptor. It's a little way to be... It's a little act of resistance, right? Absolutely. You remove yourself a little bit further from the mainstay of capitalism and its need to keep you working and to make money, to buy food, to buy shelter.
Absolutely, yeah. Because, if you can save, that little extra buck or whatever on your food each month, you can put that towards something that you value, and our food systems in America are trash, and everybody needs to do their best to pull away from them. And you can create healthy food at home, food that you trust at home, and it absolutely is an act of resistance. You can even grow your own medicine. You can grow your own wellness herbs and things like that. So
what's some really easy stuff in New Orleans to
really
grow?
Easy stuff.
So people somebody who's I don't grow anything. You're okay, if you could plant one or two things and they can help your food or your medicinal purposes, what do you recommend to people to grow?
Easy to grow cucumbers. If you have, a little bit of space, or you can build something that travels upward. Cucumbers grow absolute crazy here. Even in all this dry heat we've had, my cucumbers are going absolutely nuts. Your warm herbs, your basil is pretty easy to grow.
I feel I see a lot of mint too
in
New Orleans.
And mint, you don't even have to try to grow
mint
it.
Is great. And mint is so good. You could spruce up all your cocktails and iced teas and desserts.
Yes, and they're so refreshing.
It's also good for your belly.
Yes. So grow your mints, but put them in a pot. Don't put your mints in the ground because they'll spread everywhere.
Interesting.
But a lot of our favorite herbs are mints, like oregano and even basil. They're all in the mint family.
Oh, really?
So they're all in this, it's one of those scientific families.
I am learning.
I don't know a whole lot about that shit, but, they're all.
It's how a piano is a percussion instrument.
Is it?
Yeah. Did you know that?
Is it? Are you sure it's not a string instrument? Aren't there strings in it too?
It's a percussion instrument.
What?
Yeah, because the hammer makes the sound.
Interesting.
And oregano is a mint family.
Oregano's in the mint family, yeah.
This is some insider knowledge that we're gaining.
That is really...
Sorry, I really threw you off my fun fact about pianos.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's so cool though. I love to learn that.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah. Easy to grow cucumbers, basil. Peppers are pretty easy to grow. They like a lot of nutrition though. So make sure you're making your compost. Okay. When you're chopping up your veggies, put them in the compost. Okay. Don't throw it away.
Compost.
It's bad for the earth. Yeah.
Compost.
Yes.
I want to start composting.
It's important. You got to start composting because, when food waste goes into the landfill, it creates methane gas, which basically destroys the ozone layer. And food waste is 60% of our waste in America. So there's a lot of that shit.
Jeez.
You know, just poking holes
Yeah.
through our little blankie there.
Composting's so easy. If you have a yard, you can just do a tiny little corner, and that can be your compost.
Exactly, yeah. Just get like a bucket, a trash bin, poke some holes in it. Make sure you have some browns, you know, some hay, some, you know, old leaves and sticks. And then just throw your food in it. Mix it up every once in a while.
And you get free dirt.
And then you have free dirt, free nutrition for your garden.
Aww.
And that's like, it contributes to the cycle, you know, the shit you eat and that you throw away can break down and create more shit that you can eat and then throw away and break down. You know, it's a cycle, and, you know, get in on it.
I get a lot of food waste knowledge from TikTok.
Yes.
And a thing that I've recently started doing, because I saw it on a TikTok, is I save the tops of my strawberries and I freeze them and I put them in smoothies.
Yes.
Because they're edible. They're just like a green.
Yes, and the greens are so nutritious.
Yeah.
That's so cute. I love that.
I don't put a lot in, but I'll put a couple in, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's good, yeah. Zero waste. It's the way to do it, at least food-wise. I'm still working to get better.
How much labor, though, is a garden? I feel like a garden is so much friggin' labor.
It depends. I mean, you can definitely craft a garden for yourself that is low labor. I did not do that, unfortunately. My garden takes a lot of labor because I was just like, let me just go all in, you know, as soon as I start, because I was addicted. But you can definitely, I would just say start small, you know. Even now, the most of the labor is setting up the garden and actually planting the plants. After that, you just have to water it and let it grow. So there are laborious periods, and then there are periods where you're just like, oh my gosh, like,
so
when am I going to have any peppers? When there's cucumbers, like, what do I even do with all the cucumbers, you know? So it's a lot, but also it's not that much once it's like established.
Yeah.
So, but you know, do it with a buddy, do it with a friend.
Do it with Kendra. Hire Kendra to teach you how to build a backyard garden.
Absolutely. I'll even come do it for free.
Aww.
Because I believe in it. Everyone should have it.
I mean, we have a giant rosemary bush out front, and I stay taking rosemary off that bush whenever I absolutely can use rosemary. And it feels really cool to be able to just walk outside and break it off.
Yeah. Now imagine you chose a specific variety of tomato that you in an heirloom catalog, and you go out back and you pull it off your vine, and you're like, ooh, let me get this gorgeous striped pepper, and you pick it off the tree and you throw those together in a salad. You could do that.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
Because gardening,
and cucumber. Add a cucumber.
Oh my gosh. Because gardening,
little vinaigrette.
You can grow anything you want. The grocery store produce is whack. It's absolutely whack. They have trash at the grocery store. I'll be honest, those little red grainy tomatoes where it's like there's 50 tomatoes in the stack or whatever, those things are absolute trash.
They're not good.
You can grow a much better tomato at home. I guarantee it.
Dang.
And you can grow pretty different colors, yellow, purple, green, like all these different, there's like a whole world of food diversity, biodiversity that we need to be eating.
Dang. You're selling me. I'm sold.
I'm trying to sell you.
I'm sold.
I'll come help you.
I think that you've sold a lot of people listening too.
Good. Everybody builds your gardens. Okay.
I'll ask you the $1 million question. If you had a bunch of millions of dollars and you're in New Orleans, right? And you can do whatever you want with those bunches of millions of dollars, what would you do with it?
For the farm? Oh, for the city?
Well, buy a farm works. Buy a farm works. I mean,
buy a farm.
The idea is like it's like some sort of project to help.
Project to help
the greater good. It can help you too.
Yeah.
I like the buy a farm idea.
I think, you know, food justice. I'd invest in food justice and just environmental knowledge. I think needs to be invested in New Orleans, you know, and like environmental restoration and like restoration of the soils down in this area.
What does food justice mean? I know we were just kind of talking about it a little bit, but that's also like that touches on the Southern Solidarity thing and working with the houseless population. It's like it is everyone should have access to food in abundance. It should not be a scarce resource, right?
Yeah. Everyone should have access to food, and it's increasingly become a scarce resource, you know, especially nowadays with, you know, the food shortages, as they've been saying, and the formula shortages and things that are happening. But even before then, you know, people live in areas, even in New Orleans, where there isn't a grocery store.
Food deserts.
And there are places where, you know, the transportation isn't regular enough. You know, someone can't just ride a bus all the way to the grocery store with a big old bag of vegetables, especially if they're, you know, in our older population or in our disabled population. So there really does need to be more movements around bringing healthy food directly to the people and to the smaller communities and to the less wealthy communities, you know, and the communities that are being gentrified, and, you know, food prices are even rising.
Yeah.
To where, you know, not everyone is going to want to shop at, like, Rouse's, because a tomato there is going to cost 3 times as much as, like, a tomato at Dollar General.
Right.
You know, which is, like, you know, both still going to be grainy tomatoes. I'll be honest. But, you know, but I think, you know, just empowering people to be more just about food, and just, you know, if you have food waste at home, don't let it go to waste, because someone else could be eating that, you know.
Yeah.
There's community fridges that you can give to
so
nowadays.
Many community fridges. We talked about that with Tanaj.
Yeah, and I think contributing to, you know, if you can cook a whole bunch of food, cook it and get it to the people in your community who you know are food insecure.
Right.
Because I think it's, you know, it's on all of us to support each other. Because
so with your millions, you're going to do education, and you're going to buy a farm?
Buy a farm and do education.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. And maybe even just give a whole bunch of people some money, because that's nice.
I mean, that's really...
That's real nice.
That's really, like, one of the pro moves, I think, with this question, is to be like, just give the money to the people who need the money. But in my dream world, I'm like, but I would want to build systems, like, transformational systems that are different than what already exists, you know? Like,
so true, yeah.
Like, how you're saying bring the food to people, like, that's something you could do if you had, like, the resources to do it, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. Resources, and also, you know, the community building power. Because even before, you know, Southern Solidarity had a whole bunch of resources, you know, they were just making food in someone's kitchen and bringing the sandwiches out to people, you know. And over time, you know, the resources grew, but it started as just a group of people wanting to bring food to people. So,
and they just did it. That's the thing about mutual aid, is that you can do it right now where you're at with what you have. If we can all ask ourselves, in what way can I give myself to my community? Like, what's my capacity to do that for the change that you want to see? If we were all doing that, stuff would change faster.
Yeah. So much would be changing. And so many people would feel so much more supported by their community. And through participating in mutual aid, you realize how supported you are by your community. Like, it really does... It does return tenfold, you know. So get out there.
Get out there. Do some mutual aid.
Whatever way you can.
I want to do an awkward jump to theater, because I feel like there's no way but an awkward way, because we went from gardening to more performance art stuff. You've been performing with different theater companies, but you did a big show with the Radical Buffoons.
Yes, we did Redux in January, which was so exciting. The story of how that all came to be was that we were supposed to do Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead before the pandemic, but lockdown shut us down, and then we all just kind of, you know, put that to the back burner and decided, let's devise something.
Yeah.
Let's create something. So me, Allie, and John just hung out in the room together for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Making that weird little thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a pandemic show. Like, you felt so much of a pandemic in that show.
Yeah, it was definitely inspired by the pandemic and, like, being locked on computer screens, which was, like, that first kind of, like, you know, big change when all of a sudden we were like, we're not having rehearsal anymore. We're going to meet on Zoom, you know, nobody come in. So, yeah, it resulted from that first initial shock of, like, you know, we're not together right now.
What was the process like? I know John does stuff really differently when it comes to devising theater. What was it like?
Yeah, we really took it step by step. You know, the first day we came in, we were like, none of us has ideas, you know, and we're really starting from a blank slate. And then we kind of decided, not necessarily a theme, but we wanted to decide, you know, how we're going to approach creation. Because Rosencrantz and Guildenstern was based around that Shakespeare show. So we wanted to kind of do the same with, like, a Greek play. So we were like, well, there's this idea of the journey and all these Greek plays, so we wanted to craft something like that, and just, you know, really building off of what we were feeling in the moment, you know, the isolation and the fear and, you know, the political climate as well at the time. And so really it was just through bringing these things up in rehearsal, and we decided, okay, these are our major themes. And then we said, who are the characters? Who's working in this world? And, you know, John Green is like a clown guy. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot of clown work in building.
People that aren't theater people are like, what? He's a clown?
He's a clown, yeah. He does, you know, a lot of clown. And Commedia dell'arte is really the kind of form of clown that we're working with.
Right, of course. I know what you're talking about.
Thank you, Mary.
I know what you're talking about. I just know there's somebody listening that's like, I'm sorry, this man is a childhood birthday clown. Like, you know, like.
Yeah, well, I've seen him in the nose.
So you went from the framework to, do you guys do improv? Like, do you guys do scene work that's like improv based?
Yeah. Oh my God, we did so much improv on Zoom.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Improv on Zoom, because we'd be like, okay, we're gonna like live inside these characters and like explore your Zoom space, and then there's like, we were doing like things where we were like exploring like the confines of this box, and we did so much Zoom exploration where I'm like at home, like on my little rolly chair, like just moving around.
I would have thrown my computer across the room.
I wanted to so many times, and I cried so many times, and yeah, it was really tough because we really had to be like vulnerable. So there was like a period of, you know, Zoom explorations, and then there was like a writing phase where we created these characters in our Zoom explorations.
Yeah.
And then we took those characters and kind of wrote the script from them, basically. And yeah, I definitely, most of my writing approach was like, let me just stream of consciousness to this character. And like, I was like, John will edit it when I bring it to this room, and John didn't edit it. So he was like, yep, that's all good. I'm like, oh gosh, everything.
Kendra was just asked to play a role, which is such a big deal in the theater world, for someone to basically offer you a role, which means you don't have to audition, which is so nice. Like, that's like the dream. It's just be like, can you just show up on this day and do this job? It's like, actually, I can.
Yeah.
I am an expert.
It was my dream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was Rosalind in As You Like It with Tulane Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah.
And my God, I was so excited to play that role. I was like, this is it. This is the role.
I enjoyed it. I came and saw it.
Yeah, it was good.
Are you a Shakespeare fan generally?
Not really. I mean, I've, you know, read them all in my theatrical education.
Of course.
Or whatever, but, you know, I'm not like gung-ho for Shakespeare or whatever, but I was excited to have as big of an opportunity, my first like leading role in New Orleans, and
for it to be offered to you.
And, yeah, it was offered. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Been working really hard, and it felt good to, you know, see my efforts, you know, appreciated. And yeah, we worked hard at the show. We did great.
Y'all did do great. I was really happy with it. This is, like we said, is coming out way later, but y'all didn't finish the run of As You Like It.
Right.
When Roe v. Wade was overturned, the night of that, where there's a protest downtown, a lot of you sounds like you wanted to go to the protest, but you had a show, and like y'all are actors, so you committed. You're like, we're gonna be here. We're gonna do theater, and also theater is very political. But y'all weren't able to make it to the protest. Is a huge day. I mean, honestly, I would not have blamed you if that night y'all just didn't even do the show. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would have been like a realistic thing to be like, you know what? I think tonight we just don't do it. So I don't envy having to do Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Well, the world is burnt. You know what I mean? Like, while the world is burning. So
it was tough. And especially, like, I don't know, for my character, I'm, like, cross-dressing in the woods, and I'm, like, saying things like, oh, I thank God I'm not a woman, you know, as a part of my character. And so it was just, like, acting that particular night was, like, really hard. There's one scene where I had to cry, and those were, like, actual, like, I'm about to throw up tears.
Yeah.
Like, it was so real. And, yeah. We wanted to have a moment of solidarity with, you know, the people at the protest and the people who are affected by that ruling, but the higher ups were not so pleased with it.
Yeah, Tulane Shakespeare wanted it to not happen, and then it didn't happen, and then y'all didn't do any other shows. Y'all were like, you know what? I think we're done with this festival. Luckily, you only had 2 shows left after that.
Yep.
But still, I mean, it was a big choice to be like, you know what? We're good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a big choice, and I just am thankful that, you know, the cast came together on it, and we support each other in it, and we engaged in joyous activities with each other afterwards, you know, because I think, you know, we all love theater. We all love and have a respect for Shakespeare and his work, and I think so much respect that, like, we can't let activities like that stand, and we can't, you know, we can't do the Shakespeare if we're not living by, you know, the values that the Shakespeare was created for, which is like,
I mean, I think
the time.
I think that's like the brutal part of making, like, being an artist that also, like, you know, I'm not saying you didn't want to do Shakespeare, but I'm saying, like, Shakespeare Fest is a big thing. Like, it is something that, like, to have done it, it's a big deal. Like, it's an honor to be cast. It's an honor to do it. It's been around for a long time in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's like a theater cornerstone in our city. And it's like you don't want to compromise your personal beliefs when you're making art. Like, you're making art. Theater is art, okay? It's not like I'm there as an accountant and, maybe I shouldn't give my stance on Roe v. Wade. No, theater is art. Yeah, it's political.
Exactly.
What was your takeaway from that whole situation?
Did
you learn any valuable lessons?
I don't know that I learned any lessons. I think I just am now more fortified and, like, I'm going to speak my truth, and I only want to work for places that will allow me to speak my truth, or at least create art about my truth. And, you know, if we're going to do antiquated works that were political, then we need to have something that actually relates, you know, involved, you know, because I do art for a purpose. Like, I'm not just here to put on, you know, a fancy little show. I love putting on a great show, but if there's not some sort of meaning behind it, or some sort of purpose, or like an action item or something, then to me it's kind of boring.
The why.
Yeah.
The why.
I need the why to be supported, you know, or else it's just like pretty little things happening in front, which is cute. I love that too. But it's not for me to be creating, because I would rather be gardening.
Yeah.
I'd rather be gardening.
That's fair. It sounds like your valuable lesson is that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not you'd rather be gardening, but the part before that.
Exactly. Yeah. That is the lesson.
Stuff that lines up with your
values. And yeah, basically just my values are human rights. Okay.
Seems like your values are pretty standard and should just be everyone's values.
I think in general in America, let's just relax and think about human rights.
Yeah. just
chill out. Stop being so freaked out by people who aren't like you. They're over there, okay? They're not right here. They don't have to come in your house if you don't want them to. So just chill out and let them do what they got to do. I don't know. It's simple to me.
It's simple to me too, Kendra. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I feel 150% the same exact way, and I'm sorry that y'all had to deal with that. It's crazy that we have to go back and fight all this stuff. My godmother, who was a hippie in the 60s and 70s, is just like, I can't believe you now have to fight the fight I've already fought.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
If it's a right, let it be a right. Dang.
Yeah.
Stop taking stuff away. That's annoying.
It's so criminal that they can just take away.
It's criminal. And, you know, what gives them the right? Honestly, obviously the way the government is set up gives them the right. But, like, what about we the people? They literally don't give a fuck.
Most of the nation supports abortion.
Yeah.
Most of the nation supports abortion.
Exactly. And it's just mind-bogglingly
these unelected fucking rapists, fucking sexual assaulters, they appointed by presidents that didn't get second terms. 4 of them have been appointed by presidents that didn't get second terms. Which, like, how are these people deciding things about our nation?
Old ass,
hypocritical.
yes.
Yeah.
hypocritical, seriously dangerous,
Dangerous.
harmful,
Amy Coney Barrett is the least qualified justice in 30 years.
uneducated.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
Literally. And we're letting these fools. It's like, let's
So
burn it
gross.
down.
Let's
Burn it
go.
down.
Mary, we can't say that on the podcast.
No, I say it all the time. I'm like, let's burn it down. People, let's burn it down. Let's start over. Like,
Okay.
if you can imagine it, it can exist. Everything was once
Yeah.
somebody's imagination. Like, we
Yes.
can change this.
We can change this. If you can imagine it, it can exist, okay?
Take
Use
it
your
from the
imaginations,
artists.
people. Seriously, they are our most powerful tool. Because when you burn something down, you have to imagine in order to build it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to start the imagining. We need to already start building up these new communities and these new ways of living, even before we actually start the flames, so that we're ready to continue surviving with joy and with love for each other
Yeah.
and with safety, you know? So use that imagination. Start it now. What would your life be like? What's your ideal family like? Who would you live with in a community? How many gardens do you want in this place?
I know. I was about to say, how many gardens will be there is really what we need to come back to. And with that, I think that we actually hit our hour. So I'm very glad that we got back to gardens.
Me too.
Because we all know what your one true love is.
It's gardening.
It's above all else.
Literally watching little things grow, like new growth on a plant, because it's just pure hope. It's like that little new fresh growth. It's like it's going to get bigger. It's going to keep growing. It's just beautiful to see.
The possibilities. Like, you can propagate and it can become so many other plants.
Exactly. The abundance that I learned from gardening. Like,
Yeah.
we have enough in this world for everybody.
It's so true. And it is truly something that I observe nonstop.
Yeah.
There is so much abundance. And the way capitalism works is by convincing us there's scarcity.
Exactly.
And that fear of scarcity has kept so many people controlled.
Exactly. And that's why I tell people to garden, because it's really for that lesson.
Yeah.
Is that abundance. Even if you don't grow 50 million plants, like one plant will teach you abundance for sure.
Damn, that is beautiful. You guys are welcome. This is free. This is free. Listen to this metaphor we got to. It took us an hour, but we got to the most beautiful metaphor. Garden of life, bro. It's imagination.
Yeah.
Sow it. Care for it.
Yes. Nurture it. Yes. Sow it with the gardening metaphors. Garden on our hands. Yeah.
Kendra, what? So the last question I always ask everybody, it's the same question. Who do you think should be on the podcast?
Laura, definitely.
Okay, Laura, who owns Dancing Grounds.
Dancing Grounds. Laura Stein, great person. She loves community. She loves dance. So she, and she's a great chatter, great conversationalist.
Okay, so Laura of Dancing Grounds. I love this idea, and I'm definitely gonna have her on at some point, because Dancing Grounds gets so many flowers from people all of the time, telling me how incredible it is, and I swear I will go there one day and do her class and dance and look like a fool and love every second of it.
Absolutely.
Can't wait. Kendra, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
Yeah, I'm so happy you were here, and you're the best, and thank you, and y'all be in touch. Thank you again to this episode's guest. Planet NOLA is produced by Carrie Mulder and Mary Jacobs. If you liked what you heard here, please consider subscribing to us on YouTube or all your social media platforms, and pretty much anywhere you get podcasts. Also, if you really, really liked this episode, think about subscribing to our Patreon, where we have tons of bonus content from this episode and more. It starts at just $5 a month, and it would mean the world to us. Thanks so much, y'all, and be in touch.